Welcome to PD on the Go, the podcast that delivers bite-sized learning on communication, collaboration, and facilitation for busy teacher leaders. Tune in while you're in the car, making copies, or on your lunch break, and get ready to level up your leadership skills. My name is Hallie Case, and I'm with the Office of Professional Learning in Fairfax County Public Schools, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Mary Beth Anderson.
Hello.
So today we're going to talk about data dialogues, which is a structured way of analyzing student learning that CLTs do together. Mm-hmm. So collaborative learning teams come and they talk about the data that they're seeing with their students. And we have noticed that there are some common pitfalls or things that happen that derail conversations away from the focus. So we're going to talk about some of those today and then offer you some ideas of what you could try as a team leader or as a teacher leader who's just a member of a team and wants to positively contribute to that work.
Yeah.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. So here's the first pitfall is that you're in that conversation and then it starts to be focused on one particular student or one group of students. And the reason that this is a pitfall is because the goal of coming together as a team in a data dialogue is so that you can make some decisions together around trends and big ideas and specific strategies to help all students. Right. And it's not even always students who need support from us to reach the next level. It's also for those who have gotten it, and then what do we do next for them? So if we're just talking about one student or a group of students, it's not the best use of team time.
Yeah, and people can walk away frustrated because they felt like I've just sat there for 45 minutes and someone else walked away with a strategy that was only specific for them, and now I've walked away and I'm not sure how to help the students in my class. Mm-hmm. And even though we're there for all students, we know that we have to go back in our own classrooms and turn it around. Yep. So, I think a strategy that we could start with is first, most data dialogues start with that balcony view where you're looking at all the data. And sometimes we can take away names so that we're just looking at, even if you're taking away teacher names from classrooms or student names, so we have that holistic approach. And I think a couple weeks ago we talked about the strategy ladder, and doing a protocol like that allows it for no matter where the students that you're worried about, because I think what happens is when that pitfall comes up is that I'm really worried about this one student and I want the ideas of my team. Yeah. And so I may be dominating the conversation with that.
Right.
And so when we do something like a strategy ladder, we're looking at different groups of where kids are achieving and coming up with strategies for each of those groups. So I'm still walking away with what I need for the one particular student I'm worried about, but everyone at the table is walking away with what they need as well.
Yeah. So maybe a shift in language if you're facilitating that meeting or a participant but you have those facilitative capabilities would be to say something like, so you're concerned about that group of students because they had a misconception around X, Y, and Z. Let's look at the trends across all of our classrooms so that we can figure out what other misconceptions are out there and how can we support each group of students with what they need.
Yeah, or students that scored similar to that one student, what else did other students do? And we could maybe come up with some ideas that would help,
Yeah. It's helpful to look at what students did do.
Yeah, their
not
work.
Not just what they didn't do.
Yeah.
Right? Or, what they weren't able to access yet or show you yet.
Yeah.
Is a good way to balance that. Yeah. Okay. Should we do another?
Yeah. All right. So what about the common pitfall of we often get caught up, or teams can get caught up in, well, they were supposed to learn that last year and they don't have those skills to help them with this. And so the conversation might shift to this gap in background knowledge or previous skills that they were supposed to come to you with. I think you're like kind of smiling because we hear this a lot.
Well, I did that. I mean, we hear it a lot, but I'm definitely guilty of doing that because it feels like it's something that I'm not in control of. and I wish I was, right? So I think a key for this is to shift the thinking around that control. Sometimes we call this your sphere of control. So really having to consider, all right, so we may have hoped for something, or we may have an assumption that something should have been covered, and that's not in our sphere of control. So shifting to say, what is in our control? Because this is what the students know. They're coming to us with this knowledge. And now that we know that, what do we need to do to get them rigorous instruction at the level that meets their grade level that they're in right now, right? Yeah. And so I think it's using that, what's in your sphere of control as a way to overcome that pitfall.
Yeah, and refocus the conversation. It also makes me think, if this keeps happening in your data dialogues, one way is like before you start the unit and you're maybe looking at the assessment, is to talk about what skills should students have before they start this unit, and what are we going to do if they don't?
Yeah.
So that we've already kind of had that conversation and maybe are putting some things into place throughout the unit to have a different outcome. So a preventative strategy too.
And no part of that conversation is, and why don't they have them from the previous
year? Because we
can't
control that.
Because we can't control that. Okay, one more quick one.
Let's do one
I think
more.
we have time, because this happens often too, where teams jump prematurely to solutions. So they look at the data and they think, well, I already know this from last year, that this is the reason why it happened. Or the strongest voice in the room says, here's why I know that to be the reason. And then the team sort of runs out of steam because it's one idea is dominating. Yeah. So what do you do in that case?
Well, I think we have to spend a little bit more time analyzing the root cause and maybe looking at some student work to see where did they go wrong, or what is the analysis of their errors, so that we can really, I feel like it's like misdiagnosing, right? Like you could lead to coming up with a solution that's not for the right problem.
Yeah.
And so it's hard sometimes for teachers because they're like, oh, well, last year when they didn't get it, I did this.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but we're now working with a different group of students who may have different errors. And so you could use the protocol, here's what, so what, now what? For a minute, I was like, is that right?
You got it.
Yeah, so here's what the data is. So now what?
Okay, so it's here's what the data is. So what are the reasons why we think it might be that way?
Yeah.
You got
and then now what are
we going to do about it?
Yes, exactly. And spending some more time in that so what? Like what are some causes for this, so that you can make the right solutions and put a lot of ideas out on the table.
And what that protocol does is it keeps it in 3 distinct sections of a conversation or a dialogue, so that teams, you can make sure you're not jumping ahead to those premature solutions. Yeah. So as a facilitator, you would say, okay, we're only going to talk, and here's what, about what the data says. And that does not include our inferences around why, right?
Like just
so
hard
be
facts.
Really, clear in the directions for this one, which we have written out for people. So we will share as a resource to go along with this episode, the protocol to go with the here's what, so what, now what data dialogue structure, which you can find on our Instagram account at FCPS_PD. And if you're an FCPS, you can also find our podcast resources by searching PD on the Go in Atlas. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you join us next time for more PD on the Go.